Welcome to your final exam review video. This is for Chapter 5, part of the final exam review at the end of your textbook. We're going to go over these questions from Chapter 5. Each of these, numbers 37 through 40, says factor completely. So we're going to completely factor each of these polynomials. Number 37 is a trinomial, but first we're going to look for any common factors that these terms have. They each have 4 x's, so we could say x to the 4th. We're going to divide each of those by x to the 4th and factor it out front. So we'll subtract 6 minus 4 is x to the 2nd. 5 minus 4 will be minus x to the 1st power, and we'll keep our negative 30. Now we have inside of those parentheses a fast trinomial where the first term is just x squared, nothing else at the beginning. So we'll use the factors of negative 30. We want them to add to be negative 1. So we could try negative 10 and 3. Nope, those add to be negative 7. Negative 5 and 6. Oh, close. Those add to be positive 1. So let's try positive 5 and negative 6. There's our solution. They add to be negative 1. So I'll keep my x to the 4th out front. Then in my parentheses, I'll have an x times x to give me x squared, a positive 5 and a negative 6 to get me negative 30 when I multiply, and negative 1x in the center there when I add them. That is now completely factored. Okay, number 38, we have 4 terms, which means we can factor by grouping. I like to chop it in half. I'm going to look at just the first 2, and I can factor out an m. And on the second half, I can factor out a positive t. So then I factor out the binomial that they have in common. That's m plus 5. And my leftovers in my other parentheses are m plus t. Now each of those I can't factor anything else out of them, so I know that I'm done. Number 39, first I'll check to see if they have any numbers in common, any number factors. 16, factors of that are 1, 2, 4, 8, 16. None of those other than 1 go into 81. So no common factors. I'm going to then move to perfect squares. I have a difference of squares right here. So the square root of 16x to the 8th is 4x to the 4th. That's going to go in my parentheses. And the square root of 81 is 9. And I'll have a plus and a minus. Now over here, I can't factor that anymore because of the plus sign. That one's prime. It's all done. So that will stay, and I'll check my other one. I do have, again, a difference of squares here, right? The square root of 4x to the 4th is 2x to the 2nd. And the square root of 9 is 3. And I'll have a plus and a minus. Now I'll check again. I already know the first parentheses prime because I'm done with that one. I know this one's prime because it's positive next to it. And my last one, because there are not perfect squares, right? The square root of 2 is not a whole number. Same thing with 3. I know that I'm done. You gotta keep factoring until you can't factor anymore. All right, number 40 is another trinomial. I'm going to look for any common factors that I can pull out. Looking at the numbers 12, 84, and 147. All of those are divisible by 3. So if I factor out a 3, I have 4a squared plus 28ab. And 147 divided by 3 is 49b squared. And I can't pull out any variables because they don't all have an a, or they don't all have a b, or an ab. So now I have, like number 39, I have some perfect squares. I have 4 49. So if I square root those, and I'll check in a minute to make sure my middle term is right. Square root of 4a squared is 2a. Square root of 49b squared is 7b. So I'll have those both in my parentheses. And because my middle term is positive, these will both be positive. I'm not going to cancel them out like I did on number 39. So let's check real quick to make sure that I get 28ab in the middle there. So I'm just going to multiply these. That's 4a squared. Good. 2a times 7b is 14ab. And here, that's also 14ab. So I can just go ahead and stop. I was just making sure that I get 28 in the middle. And I do. So my final answer is 3 times 2a plus 7. And we can just write that squared, so we don't have to write both parentheses twice. There you go. That's number 40. Now 41 through 45, we're going to use factoring to solve equations and word problems. So starting with just number 41 here, we have a polynomial, a quadratic equation, because it's got an x squared in it. So I'm going to move everything to the left side so I can get a 0. So it'll be 3x squared, and then subtract 2x from 8x, and I have 6x, and I'm going to subtract 9 from the other side, so I have a 0. Now from here, I'm going to start factoring. Like on number 40, I have a common factor. I can pull out a 3 and divide them each by 3. X squared plus
I found this on the
2x. There's my Siri. Minus 3. Dividing each of those by 3. And now I'm going to factor my fast trinomial, like on number 37, by looking for factors of -3 that add to be 2. Luckily for me, there's not very many factors of -3, so it's not too tough. So I'll have my x and my x. Let's see. 3 and 1. So if I have a positive 3 and a -1, that will add to 2x, but multiply to be -3. Now I've factored it, but that doesn't mean that I'm done. I got to solve for what x will give me 0. So either x plus 3 equals 0 or x minus 1 equals 0. And we don't have to worry about the 3 at the beginning, because if the other two are 0, multiplying by 3 is not going to make any difference. If it helps you, you can divide everything by 3, and then it's gone. That works too. So, I'll solve for x. -3. X equals a -3. My other answer is x equals 1. Those are my two solutions for number 41. And if you want to check, you can always plug it back into the original polynomial, just like regular equations. All right, we're going to get into the good stuff now. We got some word problems here from chapter 5. This one is about a triangle, so I'm going to draw myself a little triangle. It says the height of a sail on a sailboat. So here's my height. Is 3 feet greater. Let's go ahead and do that. 3 feet greater than the length of the foot. I'm going to call the foot x. Here's my foot. The hypotenuse of the triangle, right, because we got a sailboat, we got a triangle sail. The hypotenuse is right there. Formed by the sail is 15 feet long. We know how much that is. Find the height of the sail and the length of its foot. So we have here a right triangle. You've learned the Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. We have a are the sides, and c is the hypotenuse of the triangle, the longest leg of the triangle. So let's plug in what we know. We know a is x, so that'll be x squared. B is 3 plus x, so I'm going to write it as x plus 3 in descending order. Squared equals c, which is just the number 15 squared. So from here I have, again, a quadratic equation. I'm going to simplify it first and then start factoring to solve. So I have my x squared here. This I'll write out twice. x squared, sorry, x plus 3 squared, so I'll write it twice. There we go. X squared plus 6x, right, 3x plus 3x plus 9 equals 15 squared is 225. Over here I have some like terms. X squared plus x squared is 2x squared plus 6x. And let's go ahead and bring the 225 over. I'm going to subtract 225. And we have negative 216 equals 0. Got to have that 0 on one side to solve these quadratic equations. So looking at it, it's a lot like number 41 actually, where we can pull out a common factor. Right, they are all divisible by 2, so I'm going to divide by 2. Might as well just divide everything by 2. Let's do it that way. So I have x squared plus 3x minus 108. Because I did it on both sides, the 2's have disappeared. 0 divided by 2 is just 0. Now I have again a fast trinomial, so I'm going to look for numbers that multiply to be negative 108 and add to be positive 3. The two numbers are positive 12 and negative 9. So I'll then solve each. Either x plus 12 equals 0 or x minus 9 equals 0. Oh, run out of room. So x equals a negative 12 or x equals positive 9. Now if I look at this situation, I can't have a negative 12 sail on my sailboat. That distance has to be positive, so I know this answer is incorrect. Let's go back and find the height of the sail and the length of its foot, which we called x. So x equals 9. That's the foot, and the height will be 3 more than the foot. So 3 plus 9, the height is 12. So the length of the foot is 9 feet, and the length of the height is 12 feet long. Number 43 is dealing with a rectangular picture. So let's draw a little rectangle for reference. Okay. It says the rectangular picture is 3 times as long as it is wide. So if we have the width, we'll just call that W. The length would be 3 times as long as it is wide. The area of the picture is 588. And we know the area of any rectangle is the length times the width. So we have 588 inches squared, or square inches, is equal to 3w times w. W times w, that's just w squared, equals 588. Let's go ahead and get rid of that 3. 3w squared divided by 3 is just w squared. So I'm going to write it on the left now. And then 588 divided by 3 is 196. So let's go ahead and use factoring. If you are comfortable with square roots, you can also use the square root. But I'm going to move the 196 over so I can factor this equation. We have a difference of squares, because we have the square root of w squared, that'll be w, and a plus and a minus. And then we have the square root of 196, which is 14. So my two equations are w minus 14 equals 0, and w plus 14 equals 0. On the left, I get positive 14. On this one, I get negative 14. Again, we can't have a negative value when we're measuring something real, so other than temperature. So we're throwing out that negative answer, and the width of this rectangular picture is 14 inches. So my width is 14 inches. And then the length, we're supposed to find the dimensions, so we need both. The length would be 3 times that. So the length is 3 times 14, which is 42 inches. Those are my dimensions of the picture. If you multiply those together, you get 588, which was the area of the rectangle. I'm going to go ahead and pause right here, and we'll finish the rest on another video.